Hello, this is Sheryl and Claire. Welcome to neuroTRYvergent, an experiment in living and working without the mask. It's a podcast where we discuss navigating career change and just existing in a world as a neurodivergent human. I'm Sheryl, an ADHD adult moving from being a professional nanny to a positive discipline trainer and parent educator slash consultant. And Claire is a late diagnosed ADHD adult and founder of Wizard's Way Career Path Mapping. Her business is a combination of career coaching for neurodivergent folks, plus e-course and workbooks. If you'd like to learn more about us, our links are in the description. Each week, we pick a topic and talk about the initial thoughts, the pros, the cons, and the balance of each topic. Then, try a 2-week experiment and discuss how it went the following episode. Last week, experiment's topic was toxic positivity.
Awesome.
Uh,
Thanks, Cheryl.
yeah.
Um, and everybody, I have a little bit of a cold, so you can laugh or relate to my froggy voice. Um, so more specifically, the experiment was every vice is a virtue, every virtue is a vice, and to look at in the realm of positivity and toxic positivity, kind of both ends of the spectrum here. So when am I acting like everything is okay on one end? And maybe on the other end, when could I use to be a little bit more positive? And it's really interesting because I'm a big proponent for experiments, and I really struggled with this one. I found myself kind of avoiding it and not thinking of it automatically, and had to keep reminding myself to do it. And part of it is that I just wasn't finding examples of when I was acting like everything was okay. And so that right there made me question, like, are my eyes closed? Am I not seeing things? Like, what's really going on here? And so then I got a little paranoid that I was like deluding myself. And and so I did end up talking to Cheryl about it kind of in the middle of the experiment, and then I looked at it deeper. And I guess what I came to is actually kind of good news. I have curated my environment such that um, I'm not around a lot of toxically positive people. And I have shifted my own attitudes around kind of my primary area, which I think I used to be in this, and this is health. And so I am not glossing over my health issues anymore. I'm really accepting them and leaning into them. So I think it was a great experiment, even though I felt like for a while I felt like I'm failing at the experiment. I learned a lot of stuff from it. So,
Oh,
Cheryl, how'd it go for you?
yay. It went really well for me. I think, this was something that I've been kind of working on a little bit previously. So, again, my thing was looking at when I said, I'm fine, like, this is fine. And I tried acknowledging that and then taking action to make it actually fine and not like fine, fine. If that makes any sense, I don't know. So, and then also I talked with my therapist about being a little bit more positive about it because I can kind of get into the dread of things being really busy. Um, and so we came up with this week is going to be a challenge. I know I can handle it, and I'm proud of whatever I get done. I'm just like kind of going into that when I start getting into the doom and gloom of like, or resigning myself to like, oh, I'm gonna be exhausted by the end of this week, which maybe, but like we're just gonna do the best we can as we go, you know. So I think that was my kind of balance is like, okay, where can I just say no? And like it's not fine and I need to be home right now. Like I need to like not do all the things that I have lined up for myself. And or like reorganize things. And I think it's like really interesting because it kind of aligned itself a lot with the time thing too. So yeah, it was just really interesting. Yeah, so that's my experiment. Went pretty well.
That's great. I was just thinking, I love how it kind of built on the previous experiment. That was really cool.
Yeah.
Um, all right, so this week's topic is strengths-based approaches to working and living. And for my initial thoughts, this is a topic that I really love, largely because of like what I do professionally. I found it to be really helpful for a lot of different folks. And some of the reasons of that are that for many of us neurodivergent people, it is more effective and less traumatic than to look at your strengths and lean into those than it is to focus on weaknesses. And I'll talk about this more later, but there's just quite a bit of shift in how people are seen in the workplace and how people feel also in the workplace. I also think that being mindful of types of strengths that you might have are these innate or these learned strengths. So as maskers, we learn to do certain things because it gets better societal feedback. And a lot of times you are learning strengths that you don't really like, and so you're getting more work of stuff that you don't like. And then I also want to talk about my experience learning how one of my strengths was actually bullying the others unintentionally.
That's amazing. Um, yeah, my initial thoughts on this were pretty neutral. I've done a lot of value work, but I haven't done a lot of strength work. So, and they can kind of overlap on a lot of things. I think that I kind of took a couple. Claire was enough to share with me a couple of things about like where I could figure out what my strengths are, including sharing my strengths. It was nice to hear people tell me what my strengths were, which is lovely. But yeah, I think it's really cool. I'm just like kind of ready to learn more about it and more blank slate about it right now. So that's it for me.
Right, excellent. And we will, when we get to the experiment portion or at the end, and in the description, we'll share three possibilities for doing strengths assessments if you're interested in doing your own. So I want to quote Saskia W. She's a coach in the Netherlands, and her company is called Brilliantly Diverse. And I was fortunate to do some work with her at one of her coaching programs. And she says, work with your brain, not against it. And that's a lot of how I see strength-based approaches to things is if I know what I'm good at, if I know what I do well, then I can find types of work that honor that and that utilize that. Um, so I'm really big on two of the, and I said I'd do this later, but if one of them, I did a Gallup Clifton strength finder, and and then we did like you get your strengths, and then she has us make like a visual, so you can remind yourself like an at a glance visual what your strengths are. And I keep this on my desk quite a bit. Um, and so, for example, strategic, like I love to design solutions and organize things. So I kind of lean into any chance that I get to do that kind of work. Um, Another thing to think about for a positive for strengths-based work is really in the maybe more in the applying for job realm or the um, going for raises or advocating for yourself in the workplace. A lot of ADHD and autistic folks are really misunderstood in the workplace. And because we interact with the world differently, um, folks will often see the normies will often see the things about us that are characterized as bad. And so being able to know what your strengths are and talk about those um, is really helpful, right? To help shift other people to saying, oh, you know what? You're right. You are about 20 times more creative than anybody else I work with. Or, oh, you're right. You have like work blitzes, right? Where you get a ton done. You get way more done than anything else. And sure, maybe you need to rest for the next day. But if you look at the total work produced, your production is really high, right? And so just kind of understanding different ways that we work or oh well, you really have a strategic brain and you're seeing all of these problems happen before they're actually happening. So you're like a good warning sign for us. So there's just a lot of ways that we can, if we understand what we're strong in, that we can help the rest of the world, and especially in the work environment, kind of understand what assets neurodivergent people are. So I could go on and on and on, but I'm gonna make myself stop and give Cheryl a chance to talk.
Alrighty. Um, I think mine were kind of they line up with yours, Claire, what you said were pros. It's like, why work harder when you can work smarter, right? Is kind of my thought process. It's like instead of reinventing the wheel and like trying to make yourself fit into some mold, as long as you're able to in terms of work and life, allow your find the mold that's already made that you fit into. You know, like find a cozy spot. Like be cozy in your work and not to just not have to try so hard on a lot of that stuff. Um, so yeah, so that's what I thought. And then like the curiosity, the a lot of this stuff winds up with again my value work where it's like what are you drawn to naturally? Like finding that it takes so much effort to push your way through life, and it takes so much less effort to be drawn through life. And like, yeah, we're talking about jobs, and sometimes you just got to take the job that works for you. But like, even understanding that and being understanding, like, hey, this job doesn't live in my strengths, so it's going to take a lot more energy for me. It's just a lot of self-knowledge that I think really helps us just operate in the world in a smoother way. Yeah, that's it.
Excellent, thanks. So what could be some of the possible like cons of a strength-based approach? Even as a strong advocate for this, there are some things I think that are important to be mindful of. Um, One of them, as I kind of referenced, was that often we have learned to do things and be good at them, but we don't actually like them. And so, myself, this happened to me a lot, and I've talked to tons of people where they've been in the situation too, where they keep being given types of work that they really hate. And it's because they're good at that kind of work. And so that would be an example of when you've learned, you have a strength that you've learned, right? It's not just something that's in you, right, or part of you and your identity and your value system. So if you don't, if you haven't taken the time to identify that type of strength, you can find yourself in a situation where you're being given a lot of work over and over again that really drains you. The other thing is one of my strengths is the achiever, and it's a blessing because I'm able to start and complete projects. But my achiever largely also due to masking and to societal feedback, kind of has will go out of control, right? And it will bully all my other strengths. It'll be like, nope, you don't get any time because we need to get this thing done. Um, and that was shocking to me. That's something I learned in Saskia's course. It was really amazing to see that and to see, oh, wait, I gotta keep this one in check, right? I gotta watch this one or it's really gonna take over my life. And yes, it's a strength and um, and it's something to be cautious about. So I think those are the big two cons that I can think of about strength work.
Yeah. Um, I like that because it kind of leads into my cons where there's a difference between strength and value, right? So like I'm maybe really good at doing something, but I don't value doing that thing. So I think you kind of covered that, like where you can live in doing stuff that you don't want to do. Um, the other thing that I thought of was um, being doing the strength work can kind of maybe, I don't know, encourage you to remain inside your cozy box, um, and maybe not push the boundaries of those other parts that aren't as strong. You know what I mean? Like, it's good for us to do things we're not good at sometimes. Don't tell my brain that because it doesn't believe it, but it believes I should already be good at everything I try the first time. So that's the thing that I think would be a trap for my brain is like, okay, well, these are the things that these things over here, I don't want anything to do with. These things over here, that's where I'll live for myself. You know, like this is my happy place. And it's like, okay, but like we can't always live there. You know, that we can't always, um exist in that realm. Um Sometimes we're going to have to push. And just because it's not our strength doesn't mean we can't learn to be better at it, or learn to understand where that, you know, where that kind of, where our weak, knowing our weaknesses doesn't mean we avoid them. That's what I could kind of see is moving into an avoidance space. So, yeah, that's it.
Yeah, nice. And actually knowing like the breadth of your strengths, right?
Yeah.
Like maybe instead of focusing on a weakness, it's like, well, what is something that's lower down on my list, right? That I
Yeah.
want to bolster.
Yeah.
Okay, so talking about the balance, I want to do something that I don't usually do. Oh, and I'll show you today's candle. I already lit it because we're trying to be a little bit faster, but I chose Pee Wee today, the loner, the rebel. I was feeling like I needed a little rebel energy. And I'm going to share my screen for a second and hope this shows up well. We will find out. So one of my strengths is creativity and seeing the world in different ways. Um, And so I just wanted to share this map really quick when I was talking about the balance. So this is a process that I use, the Wizard's Way, to help people look at where are you now and where do you dream of being, right? And the reason I'm sharing this here is you'll notice that one of these islands is strengths. One of these islands, right? Is strengths. There's also like we also look at your quirks. We look at your must-dos, what are the things you're compelled to do, and some other stuff. So I think that the balance in strengths work, and I'll come off a share, is is finding using it as a jumping off point, and having it inform some of the work you do. And when you get stuck, using it to kind of evaluate why you might be stuck. Um, but then keeping it to be one of many things that informs how you operate, how you ride through this world. So that's my balance.
Yeah. Um, when I think of balance around strengths, it's um, it kind of makes me feel like being able to listen to yourself and what you're drawn to and what happens easily for you and what you love. Um, like I think of strengths as like that balance between like what I'm good at and what I like to do. And that's what I think about with strengths. And like, so there's that. It's also helps to plan resource management in your life. Like, so time resources, energy resources, all of that kind of stuff. If I'm having a tough day, I might not want to sink my time into something that's outside of like my more strength-based stuff. So but if I'm feeling really energetic, I might want to do something that's a little bit harder for me. So just kind of being able to, that's just one example of the balance that comes with strength work. Um, Finding that point where you can kind of have words and vocabulary and concepts, um, around talking to yourself and planning with yourself everything that's going on in your brain. That makes sense. I think so. So
It
yeah,
does.
that's it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So as we wrap up this episode of NeuroTRYvergent on strength-based approaches, um, I'm thinking of an experiment. I think this one's going to be a two-parter. So number one, do a strengths assessment. So there are three recommendations that I was taught, and I will share with you. One is, and we'll put the links in the description. One is Gallup Clifton. That one is comprehensive and specialized, but you do have to pay for it. Number two is the VIA character strengths profile. And VIA is great because it has both a free version and a paid version. So depending on what you're trying to get out of it. And then the last method, which Sheryl kind of referenced, is ask people that you are close to and you feel like know you fairly well to share with you what your top five strengths are and see what they, and then when you get those, look at where there overlap, where is there something that everyone is saying. And one really nice thing to do is then offer to share it back with them if they want to know it. So those are three great ways to do a strength assessment. So one, do a strength assessment. Two, look for how you are already applying your strengths in your life. So that's the first part. Just kind of notice, oh yeah, I do a lot of work related to X. And then finally, what are one or two new areas where you could explore some maybe different work or some different ways of doing things that might feed into your strengths that you never thought about before? Make sense?
Okay. Yep. So what
Uh,
I'm hearing is
mhm.
um, discover strengths, um, notice application of strengths, and expand into your
Yeah,
strengths.
yeah,
Okay.
sounds great. Sounds great.
Awesome. Just want to make sure I get it.
All right. So Cheryl, where can they find you and learn more about your work?
CherylTheNanny.com. That's where you find me. I just updated, so my website, and it should include prices for things like workshops, for positive discipline and things like that. So if you're interested, take a look, and you'll learn more about me.
Excited. I'm definitely interested, by the way, for my son who just turned 6. Okay, I am at wizards-way.mykajabi.com. And again, that's going to be in the description. It's kind of hard to spell. Or on Substack or LinkedIn is at Wizard Claire. Thanks so much for watching.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.